Once a week, we like to check in on what's going on streaming in the world of entertainment. He writes the Coastal Commuter column for the Marina Times, and he spends time with us every Friday. He comes in on a wave of a rainbow. Oh, yes. He's Michael Snyder. Hi, Michael Snyder.
Hey, hi, Mark. You know, I can't believe we're doing this by phone and not Zoom. How 2019 of you. Oh, my God. Anyway, listen.
Everybody's Zooming. I know, everybody's Zooming. But you usually Zoom with us.
I know. I kind of feel like I'm overreacting, but after the maggot insurrection the other day, I think that most incels belong in cells. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my God. They are the worst.
I don't know what to say. It's an embarrassment in front of the world, and it's deeply disturbing. And I'm afraid there's a lot more to talk about, because this movement is not going away. We're going to get into it next week. But what have you been watching? What can we watch? What do you like? What don't you like? Lead on.
Listen, this is the dead zone in terms of film releases, generally the beginning of January, because most of the studios and distributors have put out their Oscar bait in December, even in limited runs. And now, of course, we have very little theatrical coverage of movies, and a lot of stuff is going to video. And with that in mind, two terrific films are coming out next week on streaming that are worth checking out, one of which is in my top 10 movies of 2020. And they're all films I have reviewed on the Mark Thompson show on KGO over the past year, so we don't have to enumerate them. But if people want to find out what my top 10 films were, and also a bunch of other movies I thought were worthwhile, go to marinatimes.com and click on my movie concordance of my favorites. It's in the January issue. I just wanted to get that out there.
That's great. And then, by the way, yes, concordance is an SAT word. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Continue, please.
We do our best. There are a lot of things that are going to be released, and again, here's something new that I thought was pretty wonderful, and it's available in Streaming Matters. Herself, which is a modest but affecting drama from Ireland, and it tells a sadly familiar story about a woman in an abusive relationship who does her best to get away and make a life for herself and her kids safe from the violent threat of her ex. But the star and co-screenwriter Claire Dunn gives it real life and vitality, and it has the honesty and vulnerability in the performance that encourages you to want her character, Sandra, to succeed in her endeavors, to keep herself and her kids safe. As is the case in a lot of these situations, Sandra is legally bound to give her abuser visitation with their two young daughters, despite him having battered her badly. And, obviously complications ensue. This is well cast all around and really well directed by the British theater vet Phillida Lloyd. For better or worse, she's best known for directing the Mamma Mia movies. Herself is a definite step up, and it's available on Amazon Prime. It's sweet, it's sad, it's intimate, and I recommend it. Okay, here's something I think of great interest to anyone who follows the news, and I think you're going to be eager to see it. It's called The Dissident, and it's a powerful and disturbing story ripped from the headlines. It's a documentary, an in-depth investigation of a murder most horrific, the killing of Washington Post journalist and Saudi national Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul, and the cover-up, which was attempted by those that perpetrated the crime. If you've been paying attention, this heinous act was allegedly endorsed from the toppest reaches of the Saudi ruling party, meaning that a sinister, slicker Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and also autocratic pal of Donald J. You-know-who, and his quizzling of a son-in-law, Jared the Kush. This incredibly compelling documentary featuring news footage, interviews with Turkish police detectives, government officials, Khashoggi's colleagues, even his fiancée, was directed by Brian Fogel and can be seen on Apple Plus TV. Highly recommended, but not for the easily shocked. And I do want to step back to the final days of December. We didn't get a chance to review this, but The Midnight Sky is the latest directorial effort from George Clooney, which, by the way, stars George Clooney. And it's a dystopian sci-fi movie set in the future and dealing with an elderly alien scientist in a remote polar outpost who has to alert astronauts in a space probe returning from Jupiter that the Earth has been ruined by a global catastrophe and that they can't land anywhere safely. Clooney plays the old duffer. Felicity Jones and David Oyelowo play a couple of the astronauts. The special effects are fine. The direction by Clooney is fine. The actors are terrific. But the story seemed a little pat and perfunctory despite what you'd have to call earth-shattering aspects. And by the way, the first time I saw the bearded, half-loony Clooney in this, I thought, holy crap, what's Dave Letterman doing in this movie? He's got the long white beard. I'm like, oh, my God. Anyway, that's available via Netflix. And it's diverting. I just wish it had been a lot better, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I do know what you mean. So those are 3 picks. What was the first movie called again?
It was called Herself, as in like, oh, look, it's Herself. It's set in Dublin.
Yeah, and you liked it. So you've got a couple here that you really like, Herself and The Dissident. And then
they're terrific films.
And then The Midnight Sky, the Clooney film, is sort of, I love it when you say diverting. When Michael says diverting, I mean, he's like, not a total waste of time, but just like, meh, right?
Yeah. Hey, I got some TV recommendations I can bang out real quick.
Okay, do it super fast if you wouldn't mind, please, Michael. Thank you.
Your Honor on Showtime with Bryan Cranston as a compromised judge in New Orleans, shot in New Orleans, really like You Are There, is wonderful, based on an Israeli mini-series drama. His son is in the middle of the death of a gang lord's kid, and I've been riveted by it. It's Your Honor on Showtime.
Me too. It's terrific.
The Expanse it's in its 5th or 6th season. I've just been watching it for the past few years. Brilliant, complex, hard sci-fi on Amazon, The Expanse. And I also want to mention something on HBO Max really quickly. It's called I Hate Susie, and it stars the former pop ingenue and actress and ex-Doctor Who companion and Penny Dreadful cast member Billie Piper. And she plays a former child pop singing sensation from one of those TV talent shows who becomes an actress on like sci-fi TV, and someone hacks into her phone and gets compromising photos, basically ruining her life.
Wow.
Really entertaining. It's called I Hate Susie, starring Billie Piper.
I Hate Susie, The Expanse, and Your Honor, if you want to watch stuff that's streaming on the television platforms. Michael Snyder, wish we had more time. You can find him in the Marina Times, and that full list for his 2020 best films, many of which were featured on this show, is at marinatimes.com. Michael, thank you for joining us. The exits on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael. Wow. Special.